Alright, hi guys. We are currently in the car going to our first home showing. We're pretty excited. This place is probably the best home that we've found at this point, so we are excited. The possibilities of actually putting an offer in are pretty slim, just because we're still working on our loan information, and yeah, I'll talk about that at a different time. But basically, we're gonna go check this place out, and we are pretty excited. Are you excited, babe? So, see you guys there. Thank you.
So are they still living here?
To be determined. But like I'll check like windows. Vinyl is decent. Is that a chicken coop? Because usually what I would do is I'd look for staining on the brick, on the block of the foundation. See if there's any moisture that's been coming in. The fact that I don't see any like darkness in the insulation, it's a good thing.
If we have kids in this house, which I'm guessing right.
Hey everybody, today is the next day after we saw that house, and I really wanted some time to think about things before sharing them, because our process has just been really strange, and I'm really wanting to document this journey, but yesterday was just crazy, and yeah, just didn't get a chance to film after we viewed the house. So here I am today to kind of talk about that. So before I talk about this particular house that we went to go look at, I wanted to first talk about our process so far. So basically, through the whole process of getting married, of course, you end up getting like a bunch of nice gifts, and we've been living in my dad's basement for over a year now. So we were really just starting to get that itch to want to move out and have our own space and all of that. And then because of everything that happened with the pandemic, basically we ended up saving about $10,000, which is insane. We saved so much money, and that actually allowed us to have enough for a down payment, because we just didn't have as many expenses associated with our backyard wedding that we would have had previously. So we ended up saving a lot of money. The $10,000 that we ended up saving was enough for a $350,000 loan, if you put in 3%, which is what our bank allows us to do. So we were super excited because we were like, yes, we got the down payment, we're ready to go. Before that, we ended up going to a webinar. Previously, like back in November, we had gone to like a new home buyers in-person kind of class. And so we did this webinar as kind of a refresher. We ended up putting in an application and we were kind of waiting for that to go through. It was all online. We just kind of submitted paperwork, and we were waiting for them to contact us back. So with that, then we got in contact with a realtor through the webinar that we had gone to, and basically they started like getting to know us, and we kind of started that home buying process. All right, so then the day after we met with our realtors, the loan officer actually ended up calling us back the next day. And it was a really strange phone call. So it was during my work day. I kind of knew for some reason that it was our loan officer, even though I'd never spoken with this lady before. But basically, she told me that they would be willing to pre-approve us for $350,000, which was kind of weird because I guess I always thought that when you put in a application for a mortgage, they would take all the information and then be like, okay, here you go. Here's your pre-approval for this much money, which would be like your maximum amount that you could spend on a house. But instead, she asked me how much I think our max is, and basically from there was like, okay, well, I'll approve you for this much or pre-approve you for this much, but you need to save $8,000 more to cover closing costs. And we were a little bit confused by this at first because nobody had ever really talked about upfront covering closing costs. I've heard that it can be rolled into the loan. I've heard that you can have the seller pay for those. So it was a little bit surprising that it was like, we're so close. We're right here, but you have to save $8,000 more, which is a lot of money. And we are kind of like feeling nervous-ish, I guess, because we are coming up on winter, and to save $8,000 more would be another 3 to 4 months. And that brings us to November, December. And then typically they say the home buying process can take about 90 days. So that pulls us into then late February, early March, that we might be potentially closing on a house and then moving in kind of late winter, early spring. So not ideal. Another 6 to 8 months away. And it really sucked to hear that. So we decided to kind of see if we could like negotiate with our loan officer to see if it was something where we could maybe, like, if we could get the sellers to cover closing costs, we could maybe still afford this house. So we kind of talked to our loan officer, and apparently they're super busy because a lot of people are applying for loans and all this stuff. So her responses didn't make a ton of sense to us. They were very like concise and didn't really assist us in our questions as much as we had hoped. So our realtor actually communicated with our loan officer for us and got some information and basically told us, hey, she's willing to give you a pre-approval letter if you can get the sellers to cover the closing costs. Because we found this house, it's super nice, at least in the pictures, and so we were pretty excited. We ended up going to view this house, of course, as I showed in the previous video, and it wasn't quite what we expected. It looked really nice in pictures. The front area was really nice. The kitchen looked nice initially, but as you kind of got more into like the nitty-gritty of things, it started to seem a little bit different than how the pictures showed. So, especially the backyard. We thought the yard was going to be really, really big, as the pictures made it seem, and it did not turn out to be that way. So that was really disappointing to walk away from that house when we thought it had a lot of potential. So anyways, then we did spend a long time talking to our realtor about different questions that we had about the home buying process, and he was very nice and candid about it, and really helped answer some of those questions for us, which was super, super helpful. Basically, then we started talking about potentially renting, because we were like, it's gonna be another 6 months before we can move. What are our other options? So we talked about the potential of renting. Weston went to go see a place to kind of see if it was something we wanted to do. The place was so nice and beautiful, and they kind of gave the thing of hey, if you get in your application today on viewing day, then we'll give you some money off and things like that. So we were both super excited about it, but we were we don't want to jump into anything without really weighing our options. So after a lot of conversations with our family members and friends, we ultimately decided we weren't going to rent. We're so close from being able to buy a house, but we don't want our need or really strong want to move out to get in the way of achieving this goal of buying a house. Just the kinds of things that we've talked about, our differences in what we're looking for, the fact that we don't know where Weston's going to end up in his job over the next year is kind of all very daunting in this process. And so, I don't know, I just feel like we're not ready, which maybe that's a good reason to continue living at my dad's house and kind of figure out what exactly we want. I have a really hard time because I love my dad's house. We lived in a townhouse for a long time, and it just wasn't that great. And so moving here was a dream come true. There's so many things I love about this house. The fact that it has this huge yard. It has a nice big kitchen with a huge island. It has a very open floor plan, so you can literally see in all the different rooms. And it has a fence. It has enough bathrooms to fit all the bedrooms. There's just so many wonderful things about this house. And so I feel like as I'm looking at places, those are kind of the kinds of things I'm looking for. And unfortunately, at our price range, we can't afford those things. Basically, our loan process was kind of weird, and so we just kind of started to get sad because when we were talking about renting and talking to all our family members and friends, they suggested to not rent. Like I said, because we were so close to being able to buy a house, and despite not feeling ready to buy a house, they really suggested to not rent because it's just kind of a waste of money, and unless we truly needed it for mental health reasons, wasn't really a push to do that. So anywho, so we made the tough decision to decide not to rent, and I think it was a good decision, but it definitely has caused a lot of anxiety and sadness because we are truly ready to move out and be on our own, and it's a hard pill to swallow to think that we have to wait another 6 to 8 months to be able to have our own place as 25-year-olds who are married. It's just really, it's just hard. So that's why I needed some time to think and some time to just reflect on our situation, because it's not easy. And yeah, it's just something that it takes a lot of thought, and I feel like no one talks about how difficult the home buying process can be. I think people just kind of talk about like, hey, you can get a mortgage and then get a house and yay, we have our dream home. Like that, no, that's not the case. So that part's just been really a hard reality of this, like the situation that we're in. And there's a lot of other things to consider that I'll talk about in a later video, but yeah. Anyways, I'm going to stop there because this has gotten very long, but I will talk about in the next video, like, what exactly we're looking for and why I feel like this process is going to be tough, how we're planning to save up money over the next few months, and kind of everything about even just the loan process in general, I think is going to be really helpful to share with you guys. So I will catch you in the next one, and thanks so much for watching. Bye, guys!